I'm going to talk about the part of the world you don't see here, but the part that's definitely there, the virtual part. This is the exhibition Yannick mentioned. Maybe you didn't know about it, but this is the MoMA Museum, and if you're there with your smartphone, there's more to see than the actual artworks. That's the nice thing of using augmented reality. You can just do that wherever you want to do that. I also expect you don't know that there are sharks swimming in Amsterdam behind the central station. And I'm curious to know who of you is stopping for virtual traffic lights. I think no one yet. This is a friend of mine, and he knows about the traffic light. So therefore he stops. But my vision is that there will be more people know about this traffic light. The bike path is very narrow, so if enough people know about it, they will stop there, watch the light, and then this will become a functional virtual traffic light in the middle of nowhere, stopping traffic. But it's not there yet. There's a few problems with AR, this invisibility. Something is needed, and I'm a sort of researcher, and I solve things. I research by making things. I'm not really a thinker, but a creator. So I'm now working on this app here now, which could be the solution to let you know about this traffic light. App here now is a sort of crowd-sourced app recommendation database, and it's not recommending you the Starbucks app at Starbucks. That's what Apple is doing in iOS 8. But it's looking at use cases, like what are you doing, what do you want to do, what can I do here? It's in progress. It will be launched very soon. I'm going to show quite a number of projects, and I added this slide because of yesterday when there was a lot of quotes. I'm not going to quote McLuhan. As I said, I'm a creator and I do things in a sort of intuition. There's one quote I found I had to mention. This is Martijn de Waal yesterday. He sort of suggested to be moving beyond the mapping and start engaging. And I think that's very important, because you can make all these things, the things I do, but if I'm the only audience of my own work, that's not enough, you know. So you have to find ways to get people to see your traffic lights and do other things with the stuff you make. So that's going to be the focus of some of the projects I will be talking about. This is a project on a festival in the Netherlands, Oerol Festival, a theater festival, and it's on a small island, and it's really great. A lot of theater people go there, and I did a virtual project there. People could send words into the sky, and they were taken by the wind, and they were spread all over the whole island. So it was this was the booth, because with such a project you need to let an audience know that it's there, because else nobody sees it. So one of the solutions I often do is I create a little booth. I'm there to explain the project, and I let people interact with whatever they need to do. So they could send these words out, and I was doing tours to hunt back the words, and there were sentences that were written based on questions that were varying each day. So first day it was like, what do you want to get rid of? And second day is what are the things you're a bit ashamed of? And some of them, they landed in the woods. Some of them, as you saw, they were turning around this huge light tower. And this is an expedition into the woods. There was also here this grass field full of words. And I was the woordenjutter, which is a Dutch word. Another solution I applied a while ago, it's a safari tour. I rented a car and had a really bad driver, and we were driving around Eindhoven. This was called the Layer Safari. Layer is the augmented reality app. And what's happening here is that if you go on a normal safari, you have your camera and your...
Welcome to the Layer Safari.
Normally you're looking through a camera and you're also looking at the animals through a very tiny screen, and now it's just a phone, so it's the same thing, but you don't have to travel to Africa, so that's very efficient. And then at certain spots we would stop and people could take a photo. They had this photo opportunity of to pose next to the rhinoceros. Another solution, of course, is to print something and put it on the ground. This is the world's first augmented reality flash mob, which happened on the Dam Square. It was also my first augmented reality project. I had no clue what it was about. I thought, okay, I will just print the marker and say to people, come here with your augmented reality and we will make the flash mob happen. And that happened. So that's actually, I think it's 2 flash mobs. So in the middle there's this empty space. That's where the virtual flash mob is happening, and people around it, of course, form a sort of secondary flash mob thing. This is a sketch of what they could see. This is a project I did with Luciano. We were asked to put some augmented reality in a big park in Eindhoven, and we were not responsible for the promotion. They did, and what they did was very successful. They just invited a VIP. This is a Dutch astronaut, André Kuipers, and I was really amazed by it. It's so simple, just one VIP, and the whole park was full of people. Like I've never witnessed this with any of my other AR projects. Yeah, so people could look around in the park, and near every lantaarnpaal there was some AR to be seen. And this is quite a contrast to this project. Oh no, this is André Kuipers seeing himself float through the sky. There he goes. Now this is quite a contrast. This is the online versus offline competition. It's an augmented reality score sign, and you had to use your phone to view it. And this is Almelo, Sunday morning, which is really the worst time to present a project like this. It's also the wrong device. People don't want to participate, nothing at all. The competition was very simple. You needed your phone, you needed to be online to be able to see the score, and then, that team had a point. Anyway, really not the right interface at the right time, not the right device, whatever. I think that's very important. Sometimes I don't ask people to interact with things I make, but I just do it. And that solves this problem as well. This is Lowlands, and I was the augmentizer there, together with a friend of mine. We just walked around with this blue screen, and we photographed people, and I was not explaining them about what I was going to do. I didn't explain augmented reality and things. I just photographed them, and now they're there forever, because instantly they were sort of cut out and they were left at that spot. So this is the day after Lowlands. I went back on the field and I photographed these people, and they're now there as long as Layer exists, but they've just been bought by Blippar, so let's see how long that's going to survive. This is last year. I don't only do virtual things. I do like to make things for a public screen. I like to let people perform. This is it's called WeTube. It's a public screen interface to let people, query YouTube videos, and it's connected to an online audience. So these people are in front of the webcam posing, and an online audience is tagging them, and all these tags together those are used to query YouTube. So you could have, you could be querying YouTube with your body, and you have to fine tune it together to make one query. And of course, this is much more in your face than augmented reality things on your mobile. I know, but I just have this fascination for the mobile phone. I've had it for a very long time. This is a very old video clip. I think it's even recorded from a VHS. This is me during Queen's Day. And now this guy is asking me what I'm selling, and of course I'm not selling anything. I'm just walking around with this microphone on top of my head, and people could call the number and could say something. And during the whole day, almost nothing interesting was said, by the way. That was I was really disappointed. It was a long time ago. These days, I think bring your own device is just a great solution, because you all have these screens in your pocket and a powerful processor, and the thing can connect to the internet, knows your location, knows everything that's around you. So that allows me to not be everywhere at the same time in the world. So, for example, this is a project I launched it. It's a sort of Lego system. You can just start playing with blocks wherever you are, and they remain at that position. And it's a multi-user thing, so other people can also start, continue building where you left off. This is something I launched last year. It's a portable festival tool. So if you feel like you want to have a Chinese festival, for example, you could just do that using an app. And of course, if you do that alone, that's not really fun, but this is what could happen if you create a festival at a spot and you bring people together. And the Chinese festival was the sort of the first content of this tool. It might evolve, I don't know. The nice thing there is that it's very scalable. I don't have the time to be all over the world organizing virtual festivals, but if I give people the right tools, they have the right devices, they can do that by themselves wherever they are. And that's what I like these days, that you can really work global, you can launch anything. So I actually played this game when I was very young, using the real Pong interface, the two devices. But nowadays you can play augmented reality Pong with the whole world. So you just look around, you can target Poland into the right direction, or India, or whatever. You can turn two-player Pong into a global multi-user thing. This was something I imagined a while ago, to create a sort of global artwork. This was the plan. I created an interface. It's the API for art, and I was imagining that it would be possible to just connect any artwork anywhere in the world if they would just be accepting inputs and outputs. So then you would output your data into the system. Another artwork would get that data and use it as input. And this was the artwork number 1 I created. And there it stopped also, because not a lot of people started making artworks based on the API. But still, it was a functional prototype, so to say. What really fascinates me is this virtual material. So maybe you're not aware of the fact, but there's cubes in the sky here, right here. They're everywhere. On the left you see the Netherlands, on the right it's New York. There's about 7 billion cubes hanging in the sky all over the globe. And when you point your phone up, you can see them if you know that they're there. But it's very virtual, I hear you say, and you think, what's the point of having these cubes? And then I like to show this slide. This is the proof that virtual reality does not need to be like intangible, does not need to be too virtual to touch it. This is a work by Will Pappenheimer, and the woman licking this phone is now activating these kind of toads, and she was doing that at the Venice Biennale. I was doing tours there. I was a tour guide, and I was guiding people around the virtual art that was there on display 2 years ago. And Will put his colony of toads there at the Biennale, and when you lick such a toad, you get into a virtual hallucination. So I think virtual art, let's say real art, I've never licked a Picasso, so what's the point saying that virtual art is not real because you have not touched it yet? So I like to be working in virtual public space where there's really no limit on what you can do. It's everywhere and it's open for explorations. But you have some new problems, because this is a project I did in Groningen. There you're at a specific location and you can do a 3D tracking and you can position things and you know where people should go, so you can create an interface that's very easy to use. You just click on a certain spot and you go there. But reality is I can't make such an interface for the whole world. So you have to let people sort of how to bridge this. Anyway, this is a project, it's a stalker and stalkee platform. This is a way to solve this problem that I cannot really be everywhere at the same time, but hereby I'm outsourcing the management of this system to an online community. What's happening here is that if you open a certain layer, in front of you is a little figure, but what you don't know is that your location data is being shared on this online platform. So you may know about this project because you see this little flyer promoting a virtual stalker, and you open it up, and what you don't know is that somebody else on the internet might be looking at where you are, because that's synchronized with Google Earth or Google Street View, and this person can start typing, and that text appears next to this virtual figure. So if you're standing in the middle of nowhere, there could really be somebody saying to you, hey, what's happening to these lines on the street? Or it can be very accurate, this information, even though I'm not there and I have not mapped it exactly. So this is a solution for this problem, that I need to be able to work location independent. And of course, Google is very busy with this. There's now a global game called Ingress. I don't know how many of you play it. It is you have to conquer certain spots. And I find it very nerdy and very boring, and they call it an augmented reality game, but it's so disconnected from reality. The only thing it uses is the map, but then it adds so much to the map. It's you have to fight other enemies and collect points, and I really can't imagine this is going to be the game we all want to play, except for a few of us. And that is something I see anyway, that so many people use all these apps all the time. It has been addressed a couple of times already in this symposium as well, that we stare at these screens all the time on our own. So also there I found a solution, which is called Meteor Stranger, and I liked to hear this term stranger a couple of times yesterday, because Meteor Stranger is about meeting a stranger, and it goes like this. You get a piece of theater text, but you only get half of it, and it's a location-based system that just gives you part of it, and the other part is owned by somebody else near you. I was able to present it at a theater festival, so of course I thought of creating a little booth to promote the project. In the end, this was it. And people were a bit confused, because they were used that you buy a ticket and you go somewhere inside, and then you have this theater play, and we said, no, you cannot go in here, there's nothing here, it's all over here, and all your participants are around you. But it was quite a struggle to convince people that was how it worked, and this is how it looked. So people got together, and they had to do a few scenes, a few dialogues to really get the whole story complete. And I added something which I thought it would be possible to let people find each other by waving. So if one person is waving like this, and the other person is waving like that, they could theoretically find each other in a very busy area. And luckily there was almost nobody participating, so therefore they could find each other. And here I recorded it. Anyway, I wrote a new version now. I made a special Google Glass interface, and now I think I also solved the waving problem, because with the Google Glass, first of all, you're facing the other person, which is better than looking at your phone and doing like this all the time. And also the Google Glass has this rotation sensor. So if you just stand in the right way, if one person is facing east and the other person is facing west, you get the right text in front of you automatically. But that's going to be the next variation. This is one time I did it in a film festival in Rotterdam, and it was December or January. It was very cold. A few days later it was even snowing, so it was really also a bad place to do an outdoor thing like this. And people come to a film festival to watch big films in a nice, warm, cozy cinema. So this was, these people were actually people I knew. Oh yeah, I wanted to show that. Of course, it's nice if you then add some AR. So you're doing this dialogue in public space, but at certain moments there was this virtual addition that fitted the story you were talking about. In this case, letters dropping from the sky. A new version of this one, it's called Berlage Ontmoet, where you're going into a neighborhood and you're exploring that neighborhood through the eyes of the architect that created it. And this is going to be theater for 1 to 700 people. That's what we want to make it. Because well, here the same thing happens. The augmented reality is now with using 3D scanning, so you could actually look into the working room of architect Berlage. But what we want to do here is that we want to grow the amount of people participating. So it's not just one person and another person talking, but we want to have somebody standing there with the decor, augmented reality, somebody with a soundtrack, and there could also be an audience involved. So you will have these clusters of people enjoying these scenes about the city. And I'm going to open up the input tool, so you can just add any dialogue at any place if you want to. This is near the Vondelpark, where we just recently had a few projects. It's a walking, it's a multi-directional walking tour through the city. So you can choose where to walk, and then the story will develop in a certain way. And on the left you see the phone, and the text is scrolling depending on your walking. So if you walk fast, the text scrolls fast. If not, then if you don't walk, nothing happens. But you have to walk into a direction, and in the end, you get to the end point. So I've been doing a lot of these things all over the world, and at a certain moment I felt the need to cluster it all together at one spot. So that's what we did in September, and I organized the Zo niet dan toch festival. Which means if not, then yes. And actually it started with this virtual concert. We wanted to find a place to organize something, and then our whole festival grew out of it. And there was just one rule. Everything that was presented there had to be viewable on a mobile or tablet. There was no projection, no beamers, no hardware allowed. So no electricity, no branches. And the project is still there. It's in this northern part of Amsterdam. And during that day there was this little booth, and we were handing out flyers and information. But still, the festival can be accessed, although you don't see anything at all there. It's looking the same as always. So this is one of the projects. It's called Duo Disco, which is a sort of silent disco, but then based on a mobile phone. So you could do this anywhere. And the nice thing with this Duo Disco compared to the well-known silent disco is that there's one other person that's dancing to the same tune as you do in sync, and that gives it looks very weird because people start to dance really expressively to find this other person. So it looks very confusing, but in the end you find your partner, you exchange a code, and you get a point. So this has been my audience for quite a while, looking to find this AR, and it's always troublesome. They float around and they disappear and it's not working. And then I thought it was almost like a dance, and then I decided to make a true smartphone choreography from it. I asked the choreographer to create a dance routine, and this is the augmented reality dance. You do it by following a cube that's floating around your head, like this. And the nice thing is that it's synchronized wherever you use it. So if you're here or in New York or whatever, you're moving your arms in the same way as anybody else moving at that moment. So you have a sort of global, permanent, ongoing flash mob. If you map it, it looks like this, but in reality it looks like this. So it does not look like this usual flash mob style, but yeah, she's now actually joining this whole group of distributed flash mobbers around the world. So if you talk about AR, I think, there's of course an element of augmented reality there, but it's more the whole concept that's what it's about. Well, back to the festival, I like things to be do-it-yourself, so there was also this taken-over creation tool created by Luciano, and it allowed people to just draw anything in your neighborhood and then leave it there. So this was a little experiment in the metro. This is longer ago. If you talk about urban media, I mean, graffiti has been so 2D for quite a while, and using AR you could do 3D graffiti if you want to. If people would see it, that would even be better. This is a small experiment where you can just draw on billboards. I think we're really going towards a very do-it-yourself world. And if you look at the augmented reality apps at the moment, for example, Layer, it's really focused on businesses, on commercial things. It's buy now buttons everywhere. But I think it's such a powerful tool. It can be so much fun if you can just create anything anywhere. That's what most of the projects are that I create. This is something, again, with Luciano. We are often collaborating. This is created for the iPad schools that Maurice de Hond is now currently launching in the Netherlands. And it's allowing kids to draw and to shape their own environment. So first you draw it and you experiment with it on on your table or wherever. But you can using AR, you can actually live inside the things you create. So if you want to do a school presentation about dinosaurs, or whatever, you can just create them and you can say to somebody in the class, okay, have a look and experience what I created. Waiting for the next. There you go. So it's a way to shape your own world if you look through the tablet. Yeah, this is the Augment NL. I have two labels. My personal label, Sander Veenhof, that's more the experimental stuff. But in Augmented NL we do things, assignment work, and by now we have a sort of CMS system for location-based augmented reality. So you can just easily, without any programming, create your things wherever you want to. But I already mentioned before, it's important that it's not just a tag. It's not about an appearance. It's really the whole picture that's important. So you always have to think of a way to let people know about what you're doing. For example, this is a virtual protest sign. I think I was the only one seeing it. This was a couple of years ago. It's a nice experiment, but you need to, if you want to make this into a successful thing, you need to find ways to let people know about it. And there I think it's great that we now have this exploration of Google with the Google Glass, because that might be the future that's coming. Of course, the device is a bit clumsy, and I think in 5 years we will really laugh at how it looked these days. But it's an interesting development, and I also want to show this one, Oculus. What this actually means is that there's now this ongoing battle between the big giants on who is going to control the world you're going to live in the future. Either you're sitting at your desk with an Oculus thing on your head, and Facebook is defining what you see, or you're wearing Google Glass or some device, and Google is defining what you see and not. I wonder how many of those alternatives are going to happen. This is something I came across recently. This is funny. This might be an Oculus Rift game. I don't know. It's called Watch Dogs, and within Watch Dogs there is now AR. So you're this virtual character, and inside this virtual world is now augmented reality, which I find a very confusing new phenomena. And Watch Dogs is about a world that you can control with your mobile phone. And it looks very futuristic, but it's very actual, it's very present. And I even did something like that a little while ago, where this was a museum in Amsterdam, which is of course closed at night, but if you then stand in front of it and you open a layer, then inside the museum the lights would switch on again. So this was feeling very good, that you have this really tiny device, but you're controlling a whole big museum building that way. And I think the Internet of Things is making these connections very easily. It's just a matter of putting sensors here and there, and all these things connect. So we are slowly, or actually we are already the cyborg based on our mobile phone, which is in our pocket all the time. You never leave home without it. And that brings me to this quantified self. It was mentioned before, and I personally find the quantified self very boring, because you collect a lot of data, and then what? You have a graphic. So I think it's always important to think what's next. Can you bring that into a story, or can other things happen? And I was trying to use it in this way. If you are at a very boring presentation, you can wear your Google Glass connected to a body, like a heart rate sensor, and then whenever your concentration drops really low, as you can see on the right, it's at 3%, then the system would automatically add some AR to make things fun again, so like a gradient on the screen, and then you see on the right that the concentration is going up immediately. And I think this will really be the future. You will have this. You'll be part of this connected world that's being adapted on the go where you are. It depends on, the type of body data that you're emitting into the world next to you. And it's all going to be very exciting. You know, this is the Google Glass promotion video by Google. Yeah, so you're always in the roller coaster or flying your plane or things like that, and you're sharing it all the time. And that made me think of an app that didn't exist yet. I thought there's also these moments when nothing happens, and then of course you need a screensaver. Also a classic one. Yeah, nice to bring that back. You thought you would never see it again, but yeah, there it goes again. And here this one. Of course, there's a lot of debate about Google Glass. People, there's even a group, Stop the Cyborgs. People are very worried that it's a privacy problem, you know, with the camera, and I don't agree. I think it's a solution to a privacy problem. So I created the Watch Your Privacy app. That is an app for Google Glass, and if you there's some sound here. If you look through the glass, through Google Glass, you can see where in your neighborhood there's security cameras pointing at you. So it's making this very transparent, and it's based on open data. The OpenStreetMap, it's about 30 gigabyte of data, including the cameras. So I took a subset of that and I'm mapping it into the world around you. And the nice thing also, it also maps fellow Google Glass people. So if you're really scared of the glass, if you think you want to avoid them, you can using this app. So it's just a matter of buying your own Google Glass and using the Watch Your Privacy app. One more example where it's a little more useful. This is called PowerPoint 360. It's about visualizing data in your environment in a way that's not fitting on a screen. Normally you look at graphics, but this way you can actually stand in the middle of your data and you can see, for example, at your feet how did you discover PowerPoint 360? It's a question and answer system, and it works location based. So you can add questions and anybody else can answer them. And the answers are stored at that specific location, but you can also, of course, look around you and see what people in the north are thinking about something or people in the south. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So you see it's doing a pie chart in front of your feet, but it's doing sort of block graphics around you. Is it cold here? You can see the answers coming from certain directions. So this really brings you into immersive way of experiencing data, if you would. Well, anyway, this is the reality. You know, we are looking at these phones all the time. This is a very famous picture. It was shared on Twitter a lot of times. I guess you have seen it. And there's one guy not looking at his phone, and the title at Twitter was "What the fuck is wrong with this dude?" You know what's he doing? And I created a variation of this. I photoshopped it because this is, I think, what we will be seeing soon. We will be watching at a group of Google Glass people, and you see the guy on the right is not having the Google Glass, but that's not because he doesn't know what's going on. I think maybe that guy is the smart one that's even further ahead of these people with the Google Glass. I think maybe that's the guy that's wearing the contact lens. And this is not really a distant, futuristic thing. Google has patented the tiny micro projector that projects straight into your retina. So that means that wherever your eyes go, the image always fits. And the other nice thing is that people can't grab the Google Glass from your face. So that's something that can happen now, but I think the world just needs to learn that we have this new reality. So it's time to deal with it. And if you don't, then you only see half of the world. That's my conclusion. And if you want to see the other half of the world, you can go to this website where there's a lot of the projects and a lot more listed. So thank you.
Thank you very much for your very interesting presentation. So I actually have 2 questions, but they're rather short. So at that project you showed us, when you attend a presentation, it's really boring. You have this application trying to boost your concentration again, and I was wondering where you is the concentration of the user actually being measured, and how? And regarding to that, because you mentioned biodata, I wonder if you have started working with biodata recording, and what kind of interfaces you use.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, the project was based on real data. I've got a heart rate sensor. So you wear it with a wristband, and it just outputs the data to a mobile phone, and then the mobile phone stores it into a web server, and the web server is doing the AR around you. So there was really this live connection. And it appeared that the heart rate sensor was actually quite good at predicting my concentration, because if you do it with a sort of margin, if you slowly adjust, then you can see dips into your concentration, or moments when it's going up. So it was actually really a measurement of how active I am during whatever I'm doing.
I'm sorry. So the mapping was like lower heartbeat rate. You mapped it like to lower concentration, because.
Yeah.
Towards that direction, maybe a brain-computer interface could be like more accurate in the future.
I think so. Yeah, I guess so. And this is only a $80 cheap sensor device. But of course, if you have better stuff, you can really measure yourself. And for me, it was important to see this. Yeah, to just make the connection. I wanted to see if it's possible to map my state of being to this world around me. So that's now, I know how to do it, so I can experiment further. And of course you can also store that data at a location, but I think that's being done as well. But in the end you have a lot of data, and then what? So you always have to think of the next step. Well, how are you going to output it? What are you going to do with it? But yeah, it's a very exciting world. I was doing this as a sort of commission for a fact in Liverpool, together with the Manifest.AR people, and each of them has their own way of using that data. And if you're interested in that, it might be interesting to explore that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.